becomes way too difficult. Like, EG is just purely building heroes that can go into the late game. Sumail's got a Bloodstone already completed, so losing a fight here is pretty critical because they don't have the best way to get back into this game.
Yeah.
Like, I.M.O doesn't have any real comeback mechanic heroes, and a lot of their heroes start to fall off after this point, and so when they go for this top tower push, they actually just have to get the tower, get out, and they have to do it cleanly, and it looks like EG aren't willing to risk it for this tier 2 tower just because I.M.O has the better position.
So CTY is going to get a lot of farm out of this one. BKB is going to be his choice. Was there any other item that you maybe thought about? Perhaps like the Blade Mail that we saw from last game?
No, because if you just get blind stunned by Universe,
Yeah.
then if the Queen of Pain ults you before you can get it off, which is really likely, as we've seen before, then you just lose the fight. And the Chain Frost damage, there's just so much AoE from EG that he can't really risk it.
RTK making the charge down to the bottom lane. Fear does have AUI to back him up. And RTK, without much vision, doesn't want to make an overcommitment. Of course, that blind stun potential is still there with a BKB option, right? I mean,
yeah, but it's the fact that you're hoping that your team can finally start a fight, and then you can just run in with the BKB blindly. Because right now, the vision advantage is in EG's favor just because they can control the jungle a little bit better than I.M.O. So I think that CTY has to go for it. The problem, though, is that I.M.O don't have the best catch potential until you have a Blink Dagger on your line. Like, if you look at their lineup, they pretty much have to smoke to be able to get a kill on anybody. Otherwise, they're just meandering around this 5 as they can just split up the map and farm. Like, that's the beauty of having both the Queen of Pain and the Storm Spirit, is that if you want to gank both of them at the same time, you can't really because I.M.O only has one hero that can really lock them down.
a little bit added utility. Universe is going to be going for a Yule Scepter after his Blink Dagger, so no like Force Staff or anything like that. It's probably a large factor comes down to the Bloodseeker and his presence in the game, but also just generally speaking, another stun is quite helpful versus heroes like Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, and the Bloodseeker is actually really farmed. This is something I really like about CTY, is that he makes the right decisions as the game progresses. Like, we saw him get S and Y almost the entire day, but he realizes that this game he can't just stick to that static build. He has to go for something like the BKB to be able to survive. And I think once he grabs it, I.M.O will be a lot more comfortable getting into a fight. Like, if anything, I think they should get into a fight, because he's really their only flash farming carry. Like, Razor doesn't get that much stronger because he relies on being able to get towers and force heroes to go on him.
CG, they want to try and jump CTY in this middle lane. Lanham is sitting behind. I mean, the whole entire team is sitting behind CTY because they know it's a very strong chance. Both bottom and top lane are pushing. It's fairly obvious Evil Geniuses have got to be hanging around that middle lane. They don't really have a Roche-taking team, so there's no other option but mid.
Yeah, and it's so scary right now for I.M.O because they don't really know what they can really get away with, because if EG decide to 5-man smoke, then they could just straight up lose the game. So they have to be really careful, and to their credit, they're doing a really good job. Like, no one's being picked off anymore. They're playing 5-man Dota. The problem with playing 5-man Dota like this is eventually you do get out-farmed. Like, we saw it in the Seeker versus Fnatic game, right? It's not so much that the kills are overwhelmingly different. It's that one team is farming out 3 different lanes and their own jungle and your jungle, whereas you're grouped up behind a Bloodseeker because you're afraid he's going to get initiated on.
Fear casually just dropping the ultimate because he does have quite the early Aghanim Scepter. DDC is going to try and farm up. Do you go Glimmer Cape first in this situation, or do you still try and go for the Blink Dagger?
I think you still go for the Blink. I think the bigger thing right now is they have to just smoke up and look for a fight. I've been saying it all tournament. If you're not waiting for another item, you should just look for the fight because you're going to get out-farmed. So if you're I.M.O right now, you've got the BKB. That was probably the biggest item that you could have completed, right, on your heroes?
Right.
YJ's about to get his S and Y. He's actually got it.
I think he's going BKB now.
Okay, he should switch, I think.
Yeah.
But
so maybe that's what they decided to wait on.
Yeah, but as that stands, they have to look for the fight after the BKB because they're just losing too much ground right now.
Yeah, you can already see it beginning to steadily decline. Net worth and experience are dropping lower and lower in just a very even pace because Evil Geniuses have just spread themselves around the map, farming efficiently.
Yeah, I'm not Storm Spirit biased, EG biased at all this game. I think I.M.O played a really good early game, but this is just what happens when a team takes map control. Oh, CTY might get initiated on once they see him.
CTY. Universe is going to lead the jump. Sumail follows it up. They burst him down so quickly. This is a problem with Bloodseeker. Just so squishy, especially when he's sitting with that Blood Rage now. RTK is going to be jumped on. He's got the Bounty to give the extra movement speed for Evil Geniuses to catch up, but it's still a Spirit Breaker. He's super tanky. Universe starts moving his way forward. He's going to make that jump. Sure enough, they're going to try and pop. RTK, DDC faking it out. Will be able to go for the Hex. Great Sonic Wave there, but CTY is back, and he's going to try and take out Sumail first. They managed to lock him down, but a Bloodstone Suicide just at the tail end of that death. YJ runs forward. Fear now trying to go for him.
Universe in the back.
Come in from the side. Universe. Oh no, he got bashed up at the tail end of that one. No epicenter. The damage is almost there, but a sandstorm is still not enough. They stun him up. Finger of Death goes in as well. AUI hoping to be able to get in shuriken range, but that's not going to happen. CTY wants some more, but Evil Geniuses are healthy enough. He won't be able to pursue. That was such a potential turnaround there with Universe channeling that epicenter. If Spirit Breaker did not manage to charge essentially through him because Fear defensively blinked backwards. I mean, that was just happy fortune for eHome, essentially.
Yeah, that fight could have been a lot worse. Like, Universe waited in this area this entire time because he knew they forgot about him, and all it took was that Spirit Breaker running through to be able to get that.
Sumail. Calm down there.
Good fight, though, by eHome. Like, they stabilize, for sure. Like, a lot of it, things fell their way, like, pretty perfectly, that the Spirit Breaker manages to catch him, but still,
yeah.
You're not going to complain. A Wand fight is a Wand fight, and so 2 for 1 in a situation like this, definitely worth it. And you're completely right. YJ's going for the BKB, and I think at that point, eHome say, enough is enough. We're not going to get picked off. We're not going to let you dictate the pace of the game. We're going to start to get on the aggressive, and that's the item that they choose to wait for.
Once again, though, the initiation factor is still there for Evil Geniuses. Do you still base all of your pushes around the smokes?
Yes, you have to, because if you just blind go up as 5, you're going to get Sand King ulted on. EG have all the time in the world to prep. You have to catch them from blind. It's not even that Sumail's that tanky. He's got a Bloodstone. He's going to go for the Orchid, nothing like a BKB or a Lincoln. So killing him, you have the potential to do it. You just need to be tanky enough to live throughout the fights.
It's going to be another BKB probably coming from ROTK, but he's going to need a lot more time to farm, especially since it's a Spirit Breaker. He's not known to be a particularly flashy farmer.
eHome is still in a pretty comfortable position despite what we were talking about earlier because they know that EG can't really do the Roshan too early until they get probably a little bit more of an advantage.
Right.
They don't have the best right clickers, and so eHome knows that if EG go for the Roshan, it's kind of unlikely. Maybe after a Wand fight or something like that, but risking it before that point isn't worth it. So it's easy for them to kind of hold pace, because EG aren't taking any more objectives. You're getting out-farmed, but it's not monstrous. It's just an overtime kind of thing. And so if the Razor picks up his BKB at a reasonable timing, which he's going to be really happy. And I mean, we haven't even mentioned how big of a monster CTY is when it comes to farm. Like, despite Sumail being able to farm out the entire map, he's keeping it close.
Yeah, it looks like he's going back for an SNY, which we've seen multiple times, unless he wants to go for the Manta versus the Orchid. Just out of the factor, like, he can then hold on to his BKB for better scenarios.
I think there's too much AoE from Evil Geniuses for him to be able to do that.
Okay.
Like, they've got
That's a good point, yeah.
If you channel the Epicenter and hit, the Manta illusions almost die instantly. So I don't...
So SNY, just more stats build.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to be able to tank the initial wave, is what it is. If you can't afford to just go for the straight Scotty, if you get initiated on...
Oh, don't tell
what's
me.
the point of having a BKB?
Don't tell me they're going to go for a smoke. This is a ward placed by Evil Geniuses not so long ago. AUI, I believe, was the one who planted it. And they're sitting in this area like they've got a counter ward. They're feeling like, okay, yeah, we're good to be able to smoke up in this area, but...
There's the BKB on the Razor. Yeah. They're going to feel pretty confident now, but at top, this is an overcommitment, I think.
Forward Fear. They have Universe sitting on the side. He does have his ultimate. He's actually trying to make an interception here. Fear is silenced up. He's going to go for the CP out, but there's the 17%. Fear falls. Orchid now complete on Sumail, but they've lost their other intelligence core.
Yeah, I actually thought more... Oh, CTY just pops the BKB.
And what was that play from AUI? He actually showed himself popping out near the Tier 1 tower.
Yeah. I thought EG was going to be prepared for that, but good play by eHome. Like, they read the situation perfectly. They knew that it was very unlikely that Sumail could get there and get into that fight to begin with. And CTY unfortunately popped his BKB, and that's now down to 8 seconds. And so if you're a fan of eHome right now, that's got to sting a little bit, but 8 seconds is enough right now. Like, once it gets down to 5, it's going to be a little bit brutal. It just means that you have to win the next fight.
Yeah, let's talk about like late game interactions here a little bit. Do you give Evil Geniuses the late game advantage just because of the initiation and mobility once again?
I think I've talked about it before, and Storm's got a lot of counters, but Bloodseeker's not one of them. Like, Bloodseeker can't keep up with the Storm Sphere while it kills your entire team. E-Home just don't have enough heroes that can catch the mobility of Evil Geniuses. You've got 3 heroes that can almost instantly get out in Universe, Sumail, and Fear, and so once that happens, E-Home is going to have to rely on ROTK just going insane. Like, he's got to bash pretty much every single hit to be able to catch everybody from EG. I played plenty of Storm versus Bloodseeker games, and especially in this meta, and Bloodseeker just can't keep up.
Right. And that BKB, which you said is such a big factor, like 8 seconds is good for now, but later on 5 seconds, like what happens if they just kite him around for 5 seconds and then turn on him?
Yeah, exactly. So EG, they've got a DD on their Storm Spirit, so they might feel comfortable. They don't know he's coming, actually.
Yeah, he's got the Glimmer Cape. If he can get the double stun, but Sumail's already jumped out with the double man burrow strike with the Sonic Wave over the top. There goes one already down and out. The Undying is dead, and so too does Fall the Lion. YJ tries to steal some of the damage, but he's going to run out of his BKB soon. 17% onto Sumail. The ultimate being popped as well. YJ dropping lower and lower, but they need a couple more right clicks. No! Now the Epicenter comes onto ROTK. They're going to be able to finish him off as well. CTY is desperate to get some cleanup here. They've already bought back on the Undying, but Evil Geniuses are just kiting around CTY forever. EG now going to jump forward once again with the Burrow Strike on Alanim. Throws out the Tombstone, tries to heal himself as much as possible, but with 3 heroes surrounding him, he'll just eventually be right-clicked down, and CTY is forced back to his base. He simply can't help out his allies.
That was maybe a little bit too optimistic to send your heroes in like that. I think if the Lion actually lived in the beginning of that fight, they could have popped Sumail a lot sooner and maybe even win that fight or at least get away with a better trade than they did, but they gave up so many track kills. Sumail even managed to get the deny off, and EG don't even lose anything really for that fight. And this is going to mean an Aegis for them at the same time. You've blown the buyback on the Undying. CTY didn't really get away with anything, so it's not like he's going to be able to snowball as a result of that fight. Sumail's about to pick up an Aegis, and Storm might just be the best Aegis carrier in Dota.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there's very little question about who can really beat out a Storm Spirit. It's just so versatile with the Aegis. Jumping in, committing to a kill on a support, and not really caring what happens after that.
Yeah, but E-Home conceivably could have won that fight.
Yeah.
That's what I still like to see.
If Lion had just like run, like you saw the Lion actually ran backwards.
Yeah,
for a second while he's in. If he just YOLO'd on in, he could have gotten the 2-man stun to set up the whole entire thing.
Yeah, that would have. I think that might have actually turned the fight for them and made it so they could have won that. Oh, CTY actually does opt to go for the Manta stop, by the way, which I don't know if.
Yeah, I was kind of with you on your analysis of that one. I mean, the feels like there's just too much AoE from EG between the Epicenter and the Sonic Wave.
Yeah, I would have preferred for him to just go for the stats. If you pop Manta at full HP, it's probably not bad. But if you're Orchided and you take a lot of damage and then you pop Manta and your illusions come out with 300-400 HP, it probably doesn't make that much of a difference for EG to be able to select which one is you. E-Home is just continuing to farm out. They don't want to get into a fight with the Aegis. I think the better thing to do right now is EG is going to go for the smoke most likely to push their advantage, but E-Home is just waiting for the Aegis to fade out, and then with a minute left they want to try to get aggressive, but EG is just not going to allow that to happen.
The 4-man smoke up. EG waiting for that perfect initiation. CTY's in the background too. That would be the perfect hero to go. Universe is smoked as